Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. You are watching Study with Sir Sheraz, and in today's lecture, we are going to talk about the activity of the radioactive materials. Basically, if we talk about the activity, so it's the number of disintegrations per unit time. In the previous lecture, we talked about the radioactivity. So, what was the radioactivity? That's the release of radiation or the spontaneous release of radiations by the radioactive material, and how the radiations are released. Basically, there are the number of disintegrations that are occurring every time in the radioactive material. So, that is basically known as the activity of the radioactive material. So it's about how much disintegrations of the nuclei have occurred in a unit time, that is basically known as the activity of the radioactive material. If we talk about the units, so there are two types of the units. The one is the SI unit of radioactivity is the Becquerel. And you people know that in previous lecture we discussed that Becquerel was a scientist who first time discovered the phenomena of radioactivity, and how he discovered the phenomena of radioactivity was well explained in that lecture. So if you have not watched that lecture, the link is given in the description section. So you people must watch the lecture to understand the phenomena of radioactivity and the discovery and the history of the radioactivity. So Becquerel was a scientist. So in order to give the credit to the Henry Becquerel, the SI unit of the activity of radioactive material is named as the Becquerel. So one Becquerel, it's one disintegration in 1 second. So if we talk about the equivalence of the Becquerel unit is that it's one disintegration in 1 second. So if in a radioactive material there is one disintegration of one nuclei in 1 second, that's known as the 1 Becquerel. 1 Becquerel is equal to the 1 disintegration per second. So basically the Becquerel unit is represented by the symbol BQ, and this word DPS stands for the disintegration per second. The other unit of the activity of the radioactive material is the Curie, and you people know that Curie was also a scientist who was the student of Henry Becquerel, and she discovered many radioactive elements after the discovery of radioactivity. So in order to give credit to the Curie, the other unit of the activity was named as the Curie. And it's the standard unit of the activity of radioactive material, and it's a big unit. So it's equal to 3.7 into 10 raised per 10 disintegrations in 1 second. So if there are 3.7 into 10 raised per 10 nuclei that are being disintegrated in 1 second, so the activity of the radioactive material would be 1 Curie. So Curie is represented by the symbol Ci. So 1 Ci is equal to 3.7 into 10 raised per 10 DPS. So it's a quite large unit as compared to that of the Becquerel. That's one disintegration, and it's 3.7 into 10 raised per 10 disintegrations in the same period of time. The next and most important point is the relationship between Curie and Becquerel. So 1 Curie is equal to 3.7 into 10 raised per 10 Becquerel. As I explained earlier, the time period is same in both these units. The only difference is the number of disintegration. The last point is the specific activity. We earlier talked about the activity. There may be a question that difference between the activity and the specific activity of radioactive material. So it's the activity of radioactive material per unit mass. You can see that how much radiations or how much disintegrations are happening in 1 gram of the radioactive material, in 1 kilogram of the radioactive material, or maybe in smaller units it's 1 milligram of the radioactive material. So it's the activity of radioactive material per unit mass. It's per unit time, and it's the per unit mass. So the basic difference between activity and specific activity is that the factor time is replaced by the mass. So this was all about the activity of radioactive material. If you have any question related to this video, you can post your question in the comment section. We will meet in the next video. Up till then, Allah Hafiz.